Raising children is never easy. Raising children from hard places can be especially difficult. An example of this is my sister. She is raising triplets. They were born a couple of months premature and spent time in incubators. As a result of that time, they missed out on a physical connection, an emotional connection, even a spiritual connection with their mom and dad. When my sister finally got to take the triplets home from the hospital, she was a fabulous mom. She poured herself into raising those babies and to giving them what they needed. As they grew, her daughter began to show behavior that she just really didn't understand. She was raging and screaming and crying and breaking toys that my sister and brother-in-law knew that she loved. And yet, there she was, breaking the toys. My sister and brother-in-law tended to look at it and think, what have we done wrong? Where have we failed this little girl? The reality is, they had not failed her at all. They had given her everything they could possibly have given her. What they needed were special connecting strategies to help their daughter mature. What they were seeing is a little girl acting out of fear. Children from hard places often act out of fear. There are several different things that show us that they are acting out of fear. One of the big ones is to look at their eyes. If you look at a child and their eyes are dark black, their pupils are dilated, they are in fear mode. They are scared and they are probably not hearing everything you ask them to do. We tend to look at them and think, I'm giving you directions, why aren't you following them? And yet, think about a time when you were extremely scared. Were you thinking, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. Probably not. You were probably thinking, get me out of here. That's a little bit what our children are experiencing when they're in this deep fear mode. So if you look at their eyes and you see dilated pupils, very black eyes, know that they are in fear mode. Another thing you can do is reach for their wrist and feel their pulse. Now, a child who is raging and screaming and running around, this strategy might not work as well with. But sometimes when a child is in deep fear mode, they shut down and they freeze. And when they're frozen and you reach over and feel their pulse, this child who looks almost comatose has a pulse that is just beating so hard. And it's because they're in fear mode. It's almost as if they're playing dead, trying to protect themselves. Another thing that we often see from children from hard places is irrational lies. I often call this a cookie moment. The reason I call it that is because at one point my daughter had gone in to get a cookie out of the cookie jar without permission. And she came out and she was holding the cookie in her hand. She'd obviously taken a bite. There's cookie in her mouth and crumbs all over her face. And I said, "Did you get a cookie?" Kind of a silly question. She said, "No." What? Very definitely an irrational lie. And yet, she was fearful of getting in trouble. And so she was going to do everything she could to convince me that she had not gotten a cookie. She was acting out of fear. And I had to respond knowing that she was acting out of fear. What I wanted her to feel is called felt safety. Often as parents, we look at our children and we say, "You have a wonderful home, the doors lock, no bad guys are coming to get you. You have food, you have a warm bed, you go to a great school, you are safe." And yet, our child from a hard place does not feel safe. And we want them to develop this felt safety. We want them to move out of fear into safety. When I asked my sister if I could share her story, she told me that her daughter was doing so much better. She was not seeing nearly as many of the fear-based behaviors because she was reaching out to my daughter and using connecting strategies to create felt safety. There is hope for our children from hard places. And as we use connecting strategies to reach them, each of our families can experience that hope.